Hello, everybody. This is Community Contextualized. I'm Jacob Bothell.
Tim Jansen.
I'm Luke Johnson.
So, how was your guys' week this week?
This week was pretty busy for me, actually. Work was a lot. It felt like a lot of loose ends. It felt like this week, but it was good. It's
yeah.
good. Glad it's Friday.
Sure.
Yeah, similar. Just trying to kind of keep up with work after being sick for a couple weeks, but leaning into the Lord and feel blessed to have good teams around me and people to kind of move the rocks forward and yeah, it's been good to be feeling better.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Great.
Yeah, you ran the gun for a while.
So, tell us a little bit about what you guys were literally just outside doing.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're getting ready for the Dominican Republic trip that the youth is taking in June. And we're running several fundraisers for this, which is great. I feel like it's a good opportunity for the kids, especially to get to know the leaders. Like today we had a new person that I had never met the leaders before. So it's a good chance for people to connect. And so tonight we were running parking right across the street from New Life City Church to raise funds. We know the guy that owns the property across the street, and he's been nice enough to let us utilize the space for fundraisers. And so we're just out there connecting with people on the streets and getting some money for the trip, letting people know what we're doing. So we've been doing that all night here.
Wow, that's awesome. You have anything to add to that?
Yeah, no, we're just privileged to have kind of the resource or the access to be able to raise funds. So if it's just a blessing, and we can all kind of come together and feel like it's just been a good growing opportunity, to get yourself outside of the comfort zone a little bit. That's what kind of mission trips are all about. Good primer for that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Luke was getting used to holding signs. That's a little uncomfortable.
Yep.
Okay, so what is this mission trip that you guys are getting ready for? Like, what's going to happen on it? Who's going?
Yeah, so Luke and I will probably bounce back and forth a little bit.
Absolutely, yeah.
With thoughts on it. The idea kind of came to Troy and myself late last year. I had been to the Dominican Republic about 4 years ago, did a ministry trip down there, connected with a lot of the houses of prayer, churches, went to the orphanage, just did that whole thing. And my whole heart was moved by just the love that the people demonstrated and, just the beauty of the area, and just getting a chance to kind of what we were saying with parking, kind of get out of my comfort zone a little bit and serve and do missions somewhere that's a little bit further from home. And so I was like, I really would love for the youth to be able to experience this, the other youth leaders to be able to experience this. And so Troy and I started talking about doing a ministry trip. Dominican Republic came up. I have contacts down there. I've been there before, so it just felt like a good fit. And so my goal is to go back and do a lot of those things that I did when I was there, just connecting with some of the youth, plugging in with the people, even some of the churches that are there, and then maybe do a couple of things I didn't get an opportunity to do, like maybe, go to a school or, organize some sort of sport event and just really hang out and connect with the people there and get to just really love on each other. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Love it. So I guess my background or involvement. So I've been going to New Life for maybe 8 months or so, and kind of right at the time that I joined, I had just gotten back from a mission trip to Cambodia, and met with Troy one-on-one, and he was kind of after maybe 2 months or so connected me with Tim, and kind of knew that we had aligned hearts around this kind of work. And it's one of those things that I have a hard time not bringing up kind of in conversation, or once God kind of puts something on your heart. Yeah, it really I find it to be important to try to share that and particularly with the youth and young people to as early on as possible get them exposed to this kind of stuff. see the way the rest of the world lives in other parts, and kind of change the context in which they're able to experience God. So God can expose Himself in a different way to them, and kind of shift, their relationship with Him and help them grow. It's kind of my jam.
Okay.
At a high level.
Okay. So how did you get contacts in the Dominican Republic?
So a lot of mine came from my first trip down there. Viola Jackson, who is one of my primary ones there, I met her through that trip, who basically was friends of some friends that I went down with. And then, over the week or whatever that we were there, we stayed at her house. She was kind of our interpreter for the week. And so, anyway, so we just spent a lot of time with her and really got a chance to know her. She comes to Kansas City frequently because she has friends and is part of the House of Prayer here. And so, anyway, I've got a chance to connect with her a few more times since then.
Oh, okay.
And so she was the primary contact that I would be going off of, especially for this trip. Okay. But even just some of the other people from the churches and stuff down there were all super, super cool and would love to connect with them again.
Yeah, very awesome.
Yeah. What's
kind of the itinerary for your trip down there?
So, and Luke, you can chime in at any point on this. We're going down June 7th, coming back the 14th. So it'll be about a 7-day trip with 2 days for flights coming and going. And so our goal at this point is, we'll come in, we'll get in on a Friday, kind of take a day and a half on the front end to acclimate just a little bit.
Okay.
Settle into the CTC house, which is where we'll be staying, a ministry there. Kind of go over, once we hit the ground, go over a little bit of our itinerary. And then roll into the week. I'd love to do, as much as possible, I'd love to connect with a certain group of people multiple times, meaning if there's an orphanage or a school, maybe trying to go there a few times so we can actually develop and so it's not just like 5 or 6 things on our checklist that we're just going and trying to chink off. But we're actually developing relationships with people and doing that with maybe 1 or 2 building projects or something fun like that to kind of throw in. So over the 5 days that we're kind of on the ground, so to speak,
sure.
I'd love for 3.5, 4 of those to be mostly connecting with people, connecting with kids, whether that's, like I said, orphanage, or maybe one day do something like a building project.
Okay. What would you be most excited to go do, Luke?
For me, it's we've kind of broken down the mission into kind of a 3-pronged. This is Tim's. I don't want to.
No, go ahead. Take it. Take it.
Preemptively,
Take it. I had it written down just in case, but I'm glad you brought it up.
Pilfer.
Yeah.
No, that's okay. Go for it.
It's love, serve, and connect are kind of the 3 points. I think all of those are kind of interrelated.
Okay.
Kind of feed off each other, but it's connecting, with kids. In particular, the interaction that you have, you go there to serve them. You've got this kind of grandiose expectation that you want to help as much as you possibly can.
Sure.
But it always, it ends up that they impact you in such a way, and you end up coming back with so much more than you could have possibly impacted them. It just kind of ignites something in you, and that is going to be transferable to all these different. So I'd say what I'm most excited about is kind of us putting, or from an itinerary standpoint, the morning and evening kind of meditation and reflection sessions.
Ooh, yeah.
Where it's you're able to say what did you see, what did you experience, how did God play out through this day, or where throughout this day did God kind of touch you, and what are you experiencing, and being able to grow together in that regard. When you're working in service and in mission, particularly in a foreign place with people, it expedites the growth and connection and the way you can relate to each other. So I would say the morning and evening sessions are kind of what I'm most excited about, and in the different work that I have done, serving kind of those most in need overseas. It's been, when I look back and reflect and spend time with God in either those sessions, or then I think we'll probably have some one-on-one kind of structured, here's what we'd suggest you kind of pray about, and spend some time personally reflecting through some kind of structure, that, for God to be able to reveal himself to me in that regard too, and personally, help me see what he wants for my life, and what I can do to help other kids kind of experience similar type of things in their life, and be able to bring back some of those points that or those learnings that will hopefully help shape and kind of inform and direct the future years, as they try to put together their life plan.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad he brought that up, because I feel like, especially doing ministry trips, it's kind of like if you're the driver on a road trip and it's a new area, it's like you can kind of take in everything that's around you a little bit. It's like you're seeing the views, but it's like you still got to focus on the road a little bit.
Sure.
And so I feel like our morning and evening times are going to be like those moments where you pull over on the side of the road, to the overlooks, and you pull over and you're able to get out and actually just take a few minutes to like actually look and see what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's really important to fully understand and be in the journey, especially with what we're doing. And so, yeah, I'm also excited about just kind of those reflection times, even for myself, just being like, Lord, at the end of the day, like what was the win in today? What was today all about? So, yeah.
Okay. Very cool. That's awesome that you guys are giving people the time to be able to, intentional time rather, to like think about and what you're doing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Very cool. So you're doing fundraising right now as we speak for the parking lot stuff. What else between now and then are you doing?
You want me to field this one?
Yeah, have at it.
All right. So the parking's great because really we're kind of running off of the Sprint Center's schedule. They have a lot of, even this month, they've got a lot of great events. Justin Timberlake's coming to town. I think Michael Bublé. You've got March Madness. So you got a lot of heavy hitters, right, coming in. So that's going to be a good time, right?
Yeah.
And so First Fridays are always going to be a great time to run parking. So we'll be running parking almost weekly, with a few exceptions all the way till our trip. So that's kind of the most consistent fundraiser.
Okay.
But we do have a few other ones coming up. We just ran, like a week ago, Toy Story night here. So it's movie night, so we're just encouraging families to come out that have kids or just want to get out of the house and hang out for a little while, have snacks. And then all donations from that go towards the trip. So we'll be getting out information via email and in the bulletins about the date of the second one. Actually, Sophie Campbell, it was kind of her idea. They're coming out with the new Toy Story this summer. And so we were like, oh, it'd be fun to watch all of them leading up to that one. So, so we'll be watching all of them leading up to our trip and the release of the new one.
Okay.
So that's another fundraiser.
Do you guys have a date picked out for that yet?
We don't. My guess is probably towards the end of this month.
Okay.
So maybe look towards the last week. But like I said, we'll probably be doing an announcement at church, emails, and probably in the bulletin as well.
Yeah, keep an eye out.
Be on the lookout, absolutely. And then the other ones we're going to have, as well as we're trying to figure out the date on this one, but this will probably be in a month or two at least, is like a dinner night. So basically, we'll all host here at the church. We'll cook, do dinner, everything. People come, and again, it'll all be donation-based. So basically, you just come, know what the event's about, and then donations welcome. And then later, probably pretty close to trip date, we're going to do almost like a spring cleaning day. So a few of us guys and girls will get ready, kind of organize some different things that we're able to do, and then present it to the church. And then anybody that needs, I don't know, little things done, little things repaired, leaves raked, after the winter, anything like that, we'll just come over, again, they'll know what it's about, and then donations will go directly to the trip. So these are some of the more heavy hitters that are coming up. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Is there anything
Luke's
else
excited about all of these.
I
Mostly
can
about
tell. You can see his face over there.
mostly
He
about the Toy Story nights.
I,
He just get you can see his face
I'm a
just
big
like
Buzz
slowly
Lightyear guy.
exploding.
I hadn't seen the original Toy Story in like years, so I was I was having a good time watching that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So, tell me how the youth interact with New Life City Church, and what does it look like for them to be, their own entity at the same time? So, like, what kind of things do you guys do on a regular basis? What kinds of things do you do sporadically? What kinds of people join you? That sort of thing.
Right. So, let me fully assimilate the question in my mind.
Yeah.
So, a lot of the kids that come to youth have been a part of New Life, for a long time.
Okay.
And so I think one of our focuses,
And it's mainly, is this high school group, middle school group?
it is mostly high school. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. We have a few late middle schoolers, but it's mostly high school.
Sure.
And so I think one of the biggest things, at least for myself, coming into this year was to kind of focus on maybe some of the people that have been coming to the church for a while, that their youth weren't in here yet, to just really open up the door kind of in a fresh way and really put out the personal invite to that, and get them connected back in here. Because kind of like you said, it can almost at times feel like kind of two separate things going on.
Sure.
And so first of all, just kind of rebuilding those bridges, and making sure that at the least every youth that comes to church knows that they're completely welcome here.
Okay.
So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, Kid City is kind of a third entity, and so a lot of the kids that work in here also help out in Kid City.
Okay, cool.
And so that's a great way for the kids that are here to, almost on a weekly basis be serving kind of the whole church.
Yeah.
Which is super fun. As far as sporadic stuff goes, Luke, what's sporadic stuff? Is there anything you can think of that is defined by sporadic?
Well, I mean, I think increasingly we're trying to have kind of like break-off groups or subgroups off of the Sunday
Okay.
meeting where we can kind of connect more deeply, kind of break off as guys and girls with the different youth leaders and think about how do we go to, different hockey games or arrange different, sporting activities and whatnot outside of it to try to go a little bit deeper and just familiarize in a way where you can have one-on-one connection and feel like you're growing a little bit closer too. I mean, I still think to my previous kind of point or position that kind of leaps and bounds, you're able to grow
Sure.
and get closer when you're doing kind of mission type work and the prep that goes into it and the experiences that you have there. And it pulls in their kind of tangential friend circles too, in a way that, I mean, that's kind of the majority of, I think, what we're kind of talking about on Sunday and a lot of the ongoing kind of priorities and thought and strategy that we're putting into kind of the youth right now is it's kind of been there for the most part, I would say.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and I think the easiest example of that is, on a Sunday morning when you go to church, and the pastor's speaking or whatever, everybody's just kind of in the room.
Sure.
But there's not a ton of interaction, you know what I mean, between like other people.
Yeah, sure.
And so, but maybe if you go with a couple of your friends and you go over to, Messenger Coffee or something after service, there's actually dialogue that happens and you kind of talk about the sermon, you talk about what's going on in life, you talk about, okay, what's the Lord teaching me in this season, anything like that.
Okay, yeah.
And I feel like that's kind of the environment that we're trying to create is where kids come here and it's like, okay, we do youth, but then if we have these small groups that are separate, it's kind of our times to be a little bit more real with each other and be like, okay, like how can we, Scripture talks about spurring each other on in the faith, like how can we get behind each other and actually like, help each other in our individual races before the Lord. And the kids feel a little bit more comfortable with just talking and sharing then, because we're just chilling at a coffee shop or doing something like that.
Yeah. Well, what continues to drive you to pour into the youth like you currently are?
Lee, do you want to go first? No.
Well, I mean, particularly with kind of the age group that we're dealing with, or that we're able to serve, and I don't think there's a more kind of seminal point that will either direct your course in one direction or another. Then, right when you're in high school, getting ready to make these major life decisions, that if you don't have kind of someone or have a group, a kind of inner circle that does challenge you and give a different life example than what you've been exposed to, I just think that it's kind of invaluable at that particularly at that age, to be able to connect. And it couldn't be a better, I think, investment of kind of your time at any point. That it's just, your entire life can be shifted so easily at that age. And seeing how that's kind of played out in different people that I know, in reflecting on, just individuals in my life that at that age, it didn't make any sense why they loved me so much. And in hindsight, I look back, that it was nothing more than an expression of Jesus through them, that they showed up, they put in the additional effort, and I made or avoided a lot of bad mistakes and made a lot of decent decisions because of that. And to be able to say that you did have that impact on another person's life, it's worth it. It's opportunity to serve and express your faith and the love of God in a way. And I like kids.
Yeah.
Never a bad reason, of course. Yeah.
I think two kind of things for me as far as like keeping momentum, for the youth and valuing, what I do. The first thing is kind of even what Luke was talking about, but just the idea of, mentorship and people that were in my life when I was a teenager that were just consistent in being there and pointing me in the right direction and loving me and, even giving me like attention, because I feel like sometimes we don't realize like how important that is for youth, that they just sometimes need that attention to keep them on the straight and narrow.
Sure,
And I call it like energizing the positive, and so people that did that for me, like I want to be that for these kids. So that's the first thing. The second thing, two words kind of come to mind, which is restoration and prevention. Now, I would love someday to be like a counselor and help people kind of wrestle through things that maybe in their life they've done.
Yeah.
And so operating on the restoration end of things, where we're going back and we're realizing the Lord brings restoration. But another huge aspect of that is prevention. And I feel like if you can, prevent things from happening, then you kind of save yourself a little bit of trouble in the long run. And so I feel like operating in youth ministry is kind of on that back end, like it's a chance to, sow into these people's lives and give them a structure for why living a life in righteousness is important and valuable. So that way, hopefully, it eliminates a lot of the things that later in their life they would have to, come back and, repent for, and just all these different kinds of things.
Yeah, you have
and
to
so
deal
at
with
least
later.
laying that framework. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, very cool. Off camera, we have
Yeah, we got the rest of the
the rest of the crew
here. We got the crew, the parking crew.
Can do
Yeah,
a celebrity
they're just
guest
hanging out.
shout out.
Ooh, always.
Well, is there anything else you guys wanted to go over while we're sitting here?
Look at you. Feeling anything?
I don't know. Is there anything specific about the trip as far as like, I don't know, dates or any notices or anything specific we want kind of people to be aware of? Maybe it might be too early to prime that, or it might be redundant with what we're doing otherwise, but couldn't hurt.
Yeah, no, I like that. So, again, kind of like we said, the trip itself is going to be in June 7th to the 14th.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing fundraisers, but also kids, as well as some of the youth leaders, are going to use other means to raise support. So, we'll be talking to friends and family and the rest of the church and making it, open to donate.
Yeah.
Again, we kind of want to make this trip, and preparing for the trip an open conversation. So, I've told the parents, the kids, the youth leaders know, like, it's something that we're, as we're preparing for it, like, we want to keep talking about it, because, in a couple weeks, there might be something new that we're excited about that's fresh,
Sure.
or maybe a new challenge that we need to present, opportunities for giving or just prayer for, all these different kinds of things. And so, anyway, at this point for me, mostly just letting everybody know to be on the lookout for kind of those new updates, and kind of be with us on this journey, all the way through it. I think that's my biggest, I think, takeaway at this point is just having everybody be on this journey with us.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, shout out to the elders and everyone else for being supportive and giving us a place to worship and come together.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh,
Yeah.
Giving us the airtime.
of course.
Absolutely.
All right. I think that's going to do it for us.
Cool.
Thanks for coming out and joining me. And I loved hearing about the youth program and what it's doing right now.
That's so great. Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be with you guys.
Yep.
Much love. Godspeed.